The scourge of anti-Semitism cannot be ignored, cannot be tolerated, and it cannot be allowed to continue. We can't allow it to continue. It must be confronted and condemned everywhere it rears its very ugly head. We must stand with our Jewish brothers and sisters to defeat anti-Semitism and vanquish the forces of hate. That's what it is. Through the centuries, the Jews have endured terrible persecution, and you know that. We've all read it, we've studied it. They've gone through a lot. And those seeking their destruction, we will seek their destruction. And when you have crimes like this, whether it's this one or another one on another group, we have to bring back the death penalty. They have to pay the ultimate price. They have to pay the ultimate price. They can't do this. They can't do this to our country.
Yeah, that's Donald Trump in 2018. That clip has been making the rounds lately because of the new anti-Semitism bill in the United States and all that, you know, the shitstorm that's going on in Israel right now and in Gaza. This is from 2018 when he was president. He also signed the Noahide laws. I don't know if people remember that, but yeah, saying that anti-Semites deserve the death penalty and they have to bring the death penalty back for anti-Semitism. That these people have to die. Well, Joe Biden is going to do his iteration, his version of that same kind of speech tomorrow, because there's this new bill that the Congress passed that none of them read, as I'll show you in a second. And Biden's going to relate to that bill and say a bunch of the same kinds of things that Donald Trump is saying. This is reminiscent of the Scamdemic in a lot of ways. The first way is that it's not actually a law. It doesn't hold any water. And if anybody actually reads it, which I'm going to go through with you, it's smoke and mirrors. So none of those regulations, mandates, or requirements for masks or for poisonations, for that matter, during the Scamdemic were legal. People with critical thinking skills know that now because they looked it up and they told everybody they were bluffing. They didn't have any laws to support any of this shit. And what happened? All the dumb people in the public, they enforced it. Even when it wasn't their job to do so. They enforced these so-called laws because they were told they were laws when they weren't. And that's the secret of a good scam, is that it's cost effective. If you can get all the dummies to go along with enforcing it on everybody, you know, thinking that they're doing the right thing and they're being virtuous, when they're actually just being sloppy and stupid, you know? And that's what they're trying to do with anti-Semitism now. They're trying to convince everybody that they have these ironclad, clearly defined laws, and that this one special group that's being persecuted by everybody else, that everybody's guilty of it. So 97% of the public is considered to be a potential anti-Semite, and the 3% protected group is actually not being done any favors, because the angst that's caused by the government faking that they have laws when they don't to protect this one specific group, perceived to be at everybody else's expense, it causes a lot of unwelcome attention to the group they're purporting to support. And of course, they're after 100% compliance from everybody, and that's how the scam works. They aren't going to show any favoritism. They don't really give a shit about Jewish people. That's not what this is about. So let's start with the law. This is H.R. 6090, a bill that passed with partisan support in the Congress, a bill to provide for the consideration of a definition of anti-Semitism set forth by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance for the enforcement of federal anti-discrimination laws concerning education programs or activities and for other purposes. And that's about as far as most Americans get, because that's usually what they put on the media, right? That's about the size of it. But let me just do a spoiler alert here and show you what this is really about, because this is the end of the agreement, and you always go to the bottom line. And this is the bottom line. It's in section 6. It says, what I've underlined in red there, constitutional protection. Nothing in this act shall be construed to diminish or infringe upon any right protected under the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. And every definition under what they referred to as a definition of anti-Semitism, according to the stuff that I'm going to be putting up on the screen, all of it violates the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free speech exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. And of course, the first grievance that anybody worth their salt should be throwing back at the government is that none of the people that signed off and voted for this bill actually read it. Because if they read that last paragraph, the rest is moot. It's superseded by every other law that's in existence. And as you could see highlighted there in green, it doubled down on that. You know, it says, hey, if there's an existing law, this doesn't apply. And yet all of these crazy definitions, which would include using the term Zionist or being anti-Zionist or being against the state of Israel, yeah, all of it applies, right? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I'll give you a good example of that right here. This is a Jewish author. And Oren Schweitzer obviously didn't read the bill either, but makes some good points. Congress's anti-Semitism bill is an insult to Jewish history. On Wednesday, the U.S. House of Representatives passed a bill to enshrine in law a definition of anti-Semitism that includes anti-Zionist messages. It's an egregious attack on free speech, and one that gravely insults the memory of millions of anti-Zionist Jews. Well, of course, they don't really care about Jews. That's not what it's about. But that is a really good point. So, let me tell you about the scam they're running. In the old Soviet Union, they did the same thing. 97% of the population, they were after 100%, but 97% of the population found themselves on the receiving end of this kind of propaganda, this kind of treatment. Most of them were actually snitching on one another, settling old scores, and getting one another thrown into gulags, and all the critical thinkers that were pointing out the hypocrisy of the mainly Jewish government that was saying that anti-Semitism is the biggest problem in the country when everybody was suffering from famines, and the government was up in arms and all over the map because they had just formed a government. But they had to get a lot of people into gulags very fast, because anybody with two brain cells to rub together would be competition. And a lot of Jewish people, like the one that wrote that article, were pointing out the inconsistencies and the stupidity of the things that these people were saying. Now, those people that peopled the early government, they were all dead within 20 years because they cut out the globalists that financed the revolution in the first place, that were at the top of communism, sucking all the cream off the top without anybody knowing that they're there. And that's what they want to do in the United States. But these racial things are the way that they had planned to disarm Americans, and we're hoping that nobody would notice that this was just another Scamdemic-style lie-a-thon, and that people wouldn't have learned anything from the first time around and preemptively checked to see what the actual text says in these things, and blow all the bullshit off, because they don't have a leg to stand on. They're getting desperate. But pushing shit like this forward and outing all their puppets, that none of those politicians actually read that bill. Do you think that happened? No, they're just willing to fucking lie. Because like Biden and Trump, they work for the globalists. The globalists own them, and they'll do whatever they're told to do to you. Because they do plan to lock you up and kill you for doing absolutely nothing wrong. It's not about that. They don't care about Jews. Israel's a corporation. U.S. is a corporation. EU is a corporation. Every country in it. They don't have any allegiances to any ethnic or ethereal ties. They don't have them. All they care about is their money god and enslaving you. Nice to see you again. Please have a nice day.